Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This will be the final part for the weekly claims algorithm that we've been working on. In this video, I just want to focus on opening and closing positions. So if we open up our open position function, we have a couple parameters: the ticker, the number of shares, and the action, whether we want to buy or sell. So to open up a new position in Interactive Brokers, for a futures contract, we can't just pass in the ticker since future contracts have predetermined months. But for this example, I just want to trade the front month. So in order for us to open up a position in the front month, we need to specify a couple of things. I do have my trader workstation open, so I'm going to go ahead and connect to my paper trading account. I'm going to create a new contract. And for the ticker, I'll be using MES, which is the micro version of the E-mini S&P. For the shares, I'll assign it 1 for one contract, and the action will just be a buy. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this again. I'm going to go ahead and pass in that ticker to my contract. The currency will be USD, and this is a futures contract. I'm going to require contract details. And in this line, I'm just sorting through futures expirations and extracting the one that is the minimum, which will be our front month. So I'll go ahead and run that. And then I'll go ahead and create a security by extracting the symbol, which will be the full name of the futures contract, the contract exchange, and the expiration. I'll assign the number of shares or contracts. Here I'm just assigning the action, create a new order ID, and whenever we're going to place an order, since I want to get filled fast, I'm just going to use a market order, and I want this to get filled outside regular trading hours, which will be 1. I'm passing in my order ID, the total quantity, which will be just one contract, and I'm going to set this transmit equal to true. Again, I'm using my paper trading account, so if I run that line and place an order, we'll hit OK, and here we just bought a contract for the MES, which is the front month. If we go to our trades, we see that we have one at the price of $41.99.75. Alright, so let's go back to our code. So that will be to open up a position. I'm just going to use a market order to open that up. Now, in order for us to close the position, we are going to assign a couple of parameters, which will be what ticker I want to close, the action, whether I want to buy or sell, which will be the opposite of the opening position, and the take profit. We are going to use take profit in points. So I'm going to go ahead and assign a couple of parameters. This will be done automatically, except for the take profit. You'll need to manually set that yourself. But for this example, I'm just going to take profit at 0.5 point, and my action, since we bought, I'm going to sell now, and the ticker just remains the same. You will notice this system sleep. This is because since I will just run through these functions, what I noticed was that when I open the position and it was a market order, it takes a couple of seconds for the position to post on my account, and then I will be able to close it. Otherwise, it won't find the position, so we'll set the system to sleep for 5 seconds, and then I'm going to reconnect to Interactive Brokers and get my positions. So if we take a look at our positions, we currently have our futures contract in there, as well as a forex position in there. So in case you have other positions, we just want to focus on closing this futures contract. So what I'll do is extract the tickers and subset the ticker name. So I'll run that line, and for tickers, now we have MES and USD.C. Now I want to locate which of these actually matches the ticker we're passing through, which will give us the location or the row to extract our position. So here I'm just testing if the ticker is actually found in our positions, which will return true, and false if it's not in our portfolio. If it's false, I'm just going to print out security not found. But if it is in our portfolio, then I'm going to extract the row in our positions. So if we run that line, we'll take a look at positions. We have essentially subset the row in our positions that matches our ticker we are trying to actually close. This will prevent it from closing other positions we might have and do not want to close. Alright, so if you notice that for this line, we don't actually get a nice number of our entry price. If we go back to our trader workstation, we see that our entry price was at $41.99.75, but we don't see that there. But we do have an average cost column here. And if we divide that by the number of points in the futures contract and round that to quarters, we will get our actual entry price. So that's what I'm doing in this line. And if we print out the entry price, we see that we get $41.99.75. So for the exit price, I'm just going to pass in the entry price we calculated in the previous line and add the take profit in points to get our exit price. So here our exit price should be 2 points, I believe, higher. I'm sorry, half a point higher, and it is assigned as a character. After we set our exit price, we're going to need to construct a futures contract in order for us to close this position. So I'll go ahead and run a couple of lines. I'm going to pass in the security shares, which is just one, the action, whether we want to buy or sell. I'm going to require a new order ID, and here I'm actually going to use a limit order. I'm going to pass in my exit price as the limit price. Since this will be pre-market, I want to use outside regular trading hours, and I'm going to set transmit equal to true, and then I'll go ahead and place an order. I'm going to hit OK. We'll go to our orders, and now we see our order here. Alright, so let's go back to our script. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this function. Now I'm just going to go ahead and run these two functions. So for this function called sleep, this will put the script to sleep until a certain time, which will be the release of our weekly claims, and this will be calculated by a start function, which we will just pass in a date, and it will automatically calculate and return the date and time of when to actually start this algorithm. So I'm just going to run the sleep function, and we'll take a look at this start function. So the first thing I'm doing is just finding the difference between my local time zone and New York time zone, or Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to round my current system time to 30 minutes. And for the weekly claims, these get released every Thursday at 8:30 New York time. So here I'm just passing in the date, which would be a Thursday at 8:30, and then I'll go ahead and adjust it by our time difference we calculated in the previous lines. So that should get us our actual start date and time. This number you will actually have to plug in yourself manually, which is the estimate for the weekly claims, but this will change every week. So we'll go ahead and run that. Now to get the very next release date, we're going to run a couple of lines, which the first line creates a sequence of dates starting from today and adding 7 more days and extracting every Thursday in that week. So if today is Thursday, we will actually have 2 Thursdays in our sequence of dates, and I just want the most recent one, which will be the first iteration. So I'm going to go ahead and run these lines. And if you recall from my previous videos, I showed you that in the directory, the PDFs are actually saved in the date format. So we're going to pass in the date so that I can look up the most recent news release. So I'll go ahead and run that. I'm going to use the start function to get the release date and time. So if I run that, so for me the release date and time would be on April 29th, 2021 at 5:30 Pacific time. So this is when the algo will actually start. Alright, now we're going to step into the main function, which will do all the calculations and send the orders. So I'm going to open up this function, but first I'm going to need to assign a couple of variables. So for symbol, I'm just going to use MES, and for shares or contracts, I'm just going to assign that to 1. I'm still keeping this main function the same, so if it can't find that PDF, it will loop itself until it does. So we'll go ahead and run a couple of lines. Let me minimize this. So the PDF is actually there, so this will return true. I'm going to go ahead and run these lines. All this is doing is extracting and locating the number we need. So I'm going to run that. Alright, let me open this back up. So this whole process took approximately 2 seconds to run. So now I'm just going to compare the number we extracted, which if we take a look was 553, and our forecast was 549, which is accurate. If we look up at investing.com, we see that the actual number was 553 and our forecast was 549. So now I'm going to determine whether I should buy or sell this futures contract. So again, if the number is higher than our forecast, then I'm selling. If the number is lower than the forecast, then I'm buying. So that's what this is doing here. So we see that we are bearish, and here we get the comparison, 553 versus 549. After we get that printout, I'll actually send an order to open up a new position and simultaneously close using our take profit. Before I do that, I need to close out the position I have. So I'm going to go back to my trader workstation. I'm going to cancel this order. Here I'm just going to close it. I'm going to use a market order, and we're filled. Alright, let's go back to our script. So I'll go ahead and run this block. Go to my trader workstation. We see our new position. We'll hit OK. So now we have a position which we're short and an order to buy back that contract at a limit price of 41.96.25, which should be 2 points lower than our entry price. So hopefully our order gets filled, and now it just becomes a waiting game. So if we go back to our script, I'll go ahead and minimize this function. I'll go ahead and run the function, and we'll go to the next step. So after you run all the previous functions up to this line, we can actually start this algo. And in order for it to run, we need to run this line. So I'll go ahead and give you a preview of what that looks like. But first I need to close out my position since I will start out fresh. So I'll just go ahead and cancel this order, place a market order to close out this position. Alright, now we don't have any positions on our account. So if we go to our script, this news release already passed. So the next available will be next week on Thursday, which you can test out using this algo. But I have modified the release date time so that it actually starts in a couple of minutes. So I'll go ahead and run that so that you know what to expect. So I'll go ahead and run this. So now it'll put the script to sleep for about 2 minutes. I'll just leave it open along with the trader workstation so that we can see it in action. Alright, so it actually ran fairly quickly. So we opened up a position and simultaneously placed an order to buy it back. So I'm going to be running this every week on my paper trading account in order for me to monitor this closer in case we get any errors or if I see something that could be improved. Alright guys, well this concludes the video. I'll go ahead and post this script on my GitHub and leave the link in the description area. I do have an alternative function to close out positions that you can work on down below following the script. So I wanted to create 2 orders, one to take profit, the other one would be a stop loss, and I wanted that order to be a one cancels all. So if one order is triggered, but it will automatically cancel the other. So everything worked out fine except that for some odd reason, I'm not sure if it has to do with it being a paper trading account, but my stop limit order wouldn't actually get triggered. So I tested this out a couple of times. Sometimes the price would go below my stop limit, which should essentially trigger it, but nothing would happen. I did find this on their site. So for futures contracts and stop limit orders, if triggered outside regular trading hours, they can be placed at any time during regular trading hours. But in any case, these conditions have to be met. For sell stop limit orders, the limit price must be less than or equal to our stop price or our auxiliary price, and the other way around if these are buy stop limit orders. So in this script I actually have my auxiliary price and limit price be the exact same. So if you guys can make this work, please let me know. I'll include this function in this script. So look out for this script on my GitHub. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.